the Oracle of Illadelphi. I think I'm going to start using that as an official title, but how's everyone doing today? I hope everybody had a wonderful solstice and is enjoying the holiday season, no matter your denomination or how you celebrate. I personally had an excellent solstice, and I'm looking forward to getting into the Kwanzaa celebrations. But, however you celebrate, whether, you are someone who gets into the Yule tide of it all, or, whether you celebrate Hanukkah, or, you are Muslim and you get into Ramadan, everyone is welcome here. Everyone is views and values are respected here. Just gonna go ahead, get a little smudge going, cleanse and clear the energy of the space, and anoint it for the energy of ritual, because Spirit was like, you've been going through some things, and it's time to share with the collective. Let me go ahead and readjust the angle so you guys can kind of see the rosemary, fresh rosemary. You guys can kind of see the ritual. I have a Michael Jackson poster behind here, and I put it at an angle such that it was... Anyway, I hope everybody's having a wonderful day, a wonderful solstice. And I was guided to come on here and share this because I have a Capricorn stellium, and in this time of Capricorn season, it's like it came in with very much an energy of like, those are nice boundaries you got there. Are you going to actually uphold them? Are you going to actually like live by those, or are they flexible? How flexible are those boundaries? Like, can we push against them? Like, literally the past, it's actually been longer than a week, if we're gonna be completely honest, but a lot of this past year and intensified in the past couple of days has been a very testing energy. Like, you remember in Jurassic Park when they talk about the velociraptors and how they were so intelligent that they just would periodically go and test the fence to see whether, whether it was still electrified, because they're like, one of these days we're going to catch these folks lacking. And they did. So my advice to you is, do not be like the fences in Jurassic Park. Do not allow your boundaries to be like the fences in Jurassic Park. Yes, the velociraptors in your life will come and test those fences. They will come and test those boundaries. They will come and see whether you actually are going to stand on business and how firmly you're going to stand on business, and like whether they can wear you down. But it's just a matter of making sure that those boundaries are firm, and that is doing a service to you, your higher self, your ancestors, your inner child. All of you, your complete being is fortified and is renewed and is given such life force and energy when you decide that your boundaries are supreme above other people's opinions, above other people's feelings. And this is coming from a retired people pleaser. I used to be Captain Save a Hoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be captain trying to save people from themselves, from their karma. And I have learned that is not a thing that's actually possible. It's not a thing that's actually possible. People have to go through their go-through. And boundaries keep their go-through from becoming your go-through, because sometimes people be dealing with karma and stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing to do for you. And I appreciate, hi to everybody joining us. I appreciate you saying you put a cape on for me, but I don't need saving, baby. I don't need saving. I've got my ancestors. I've got the Most High. We're good over here. But I appreciate the sentiment. Because love is love. But yes. Boundaries are very important, because like I said, they stop your go through from becoming somebody else's go through, and vice versa. It's just, they say good fences make good neighbors. That's true in terms of property lines and in terms of just all energetic interactions and relationships, knowing where you end and another person begins and keeping those lines very sharp. It's not easy. It's not fun. I don't like telling people no. I have a Pisces rising. I am a lover girl. I just want to love up on everybody. I just want to spread the love. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I could, I would snap my fingers and everybody would be with their perfect partner and everybody would be. But that's not, I don't have that power. Y'all, everybody got to go through, they go through. And everybody has to get to a point within themselves where they feel they are worthy of the things that they know they deserve and that the Most High has for them. And you can't hold nobody's hand through that. You can't walk them through it. You can't make them go on that journey. So yeah, boundaries is a big theme. And this reading is a combination of a lot of different energies. It's going to be a succinct end of year reading, but it's also going to be tapping into some of the energies that are going to be prevalent with this Capricorn moon that we have coming up, and also tapping into the energies of the solstice to see just what the guidance is and how to best navigate this time. I will say that for me, I have been learning a happy medium and a balance with my boundaries, because oftentimes when we think of boundaries, and I just, compared boundaries to an electric fence, but they don't have to be that drastic, that jarring. It doesn't have to be a zapping type of, it doesn't have to be like a zapping type of sharp energy. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the comment section and a lot of different things, but it can be a gentle boundary. It can be a compassionate boundary. It can be like, hey, I understand why you feel how you feel and why you need what you need in this instance, but just be firm about how much you are willing to give. And it doesn't have to be an angry thing. It doesn't actually have to be a conflict. It can become a conflict if the boundary isn't respected, but then it doesn't even have to be a conflict, because then you just remove yourself. It's like, oh, okay, well, this was a boundary. We've had a discussion. You have shown, multiple times after discussion that you do not respect this boundary. And so cut off being strong, cut off being strong. But it doesn't always have to be like that. A lot of times a simple conversation is all that needs to be had, because a lot of times people aren't aware of our boundaries if we haven't articulated them. In addition to, it's a lot of people who are out here who are neurospicy. It's a lot of people out here who have different communication styles. And so it is understandable that sometimes a full conversation needs to be had in order for, understanding to happen. But it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be Armageddon. You know what I'm saying? It does not. It can be a very simple, very gentle type of deal, and you will thank yourself for it. It's very hard to cultivate self-love and discipline and all of those things when you are out here betraying yourself, when you're out here putting others before you. And not saying that, it's not good to be in community and be of service to others, because, it's definitely one of the better parts of being in this reality is the ways that we can show up for each other and have beautiful interactions. However, you have to know when you have it to give and when you don't have it to give. Gratitude. Thank you for sharing that. My father passed away also when I was very young, and it's a difficult thing, and grief is cyclical. Also, our ancestors are always with us, smiling down, and yeah, they're proud. They're always proud of us as long as we are living in our truth. living in our truth, which is what boundaries allow us to maintain. Boundaries allow you to not betray yourself and start to live in inauthentic ways, because it's easy. Because easy is the enemy of growth. Easy is the enemy of progress. And not that things have to be difficult, but the process of a butterfly turning into a butterfly, like most people have this concept that like, oh, a caterpillar just goes into the chrysalis and it just grows some wings, changes shape a little bit, and all the things. However, what it actually does is it dissolves completely. It completely dissolves into goo and then reforms into a new being. That don't sound like, it doesn't sound like it's easy to do. It doesn't, finding a spot to do that, to avoid predators where you can actually have the time, the space to do that, is not easy. It's not. And this is why, a lot of people choose not to grow in this lifetime, because it is very easy. Calming lavender chamomile tea. Everybody, please go get you some tea. Tis the season of warm beverages. I'm a big fan of an apple cider. I'm a big fan of a tea blend, of a nice, touches the soul. Herbs, man, herbs. Healing of the nation. But I digress. I be all over the place sometimes. But let's go ahead and get into some of these cards. I know people sometimes like visual illustrations and, correspondences to, kind of align. So we're going to start off with the Healing Energy Oracle, because that's always the goal. Healing energy is always the goal. So as we step into this solstice end of year season and we begin a new calendar year. This isn't personally my new year, but I respect anybody who does. I respect anybody who takes any time to make a new start. It's a Monday and I decided I'm gonna start my yoga routine today. It's a nice round day. It's the start of the week. Do I actually believe in time? No, but it's a nice point on the calendar. It doesn't matter. It's all subjective. Make it up as you go along. Anywho, Most High, ancestors of our collective, and the people tuned in and the people who will tune in the future, what message or message-I, like magi, but message-I, do you have for us here? Trust. I trust life and my strength. Each moment guides me to the light. Everything on my path is placed there for my, what's that last word there, gang? What's that last word? Oh, it's growth. It's growth. Someone in the live asked me to talk about God, but honestly, that's all I'm ever talking about. When I say that I got inspiration to come on here, when I say that growth is possible, who do you think gives people the inner strength to facilitate these things a lot? And when I say, God, I mean the Most High, the universe, whatever your concept of the energy that binds everything in the universe together is, whatever you call that little spark of divine energy that animates everybody. That's the thing that I'm referring to. And right now it's calling for trust, because everything on my path is placed there for my growth. Even the unfortunate things, even the uncomfortable moments. I've just started I've been studying yoga off and on for a minute, but I recently bought a book. And one of the things that it said in the book was to learn to distinguish pain from discomfort. And sometimes you have to breathe through discomfort, because it allows you to understand that you are stronger than you realize. It allows you to dig deep into a place where you find strength that your conscious mind did not know existed, but your soul always did. And so you have to trust that even when life has you in uncomfortable moments, even when we do not understand why we are going through the things that we are going through, that it's all aligning for our highest and greatest good. And like, I love the fact of the colors of this card because it's got a combination of yellow and orange. So we've got solar plexus and sacral energy. And we often think of trust as like a mind and a heart thing, but when you fully trust, you trust with your whole being, when you truly embody that. It's, you know, it talks about strength. That's like Leo. That's that lion, that inner fire, this very fiery type of dawn, type of illumination going on here, because that's the place that you have to come from in order to trust. We think of trust as a soft thing. No, trust is a hard thing, because it is a part within you that says, no, this is what I believe. And our boundaries are often go hand in hand with trust, because every time you honor your boundary, you build that trust within yourself. You build that trust within your inner child that got betrayed and wasn't protected all of the times in their youth. You build that trust with them to say, listen, I understand that previously our caretakers were not necessarily the most equipped. Bless their hearts, they were going through their go-through. However, now that we are running the show, now that our higher selves, now that everybody's in alignment and we're on the same page, trust that you shall not pass Gandalf with the Balrog type boundaries. And even if you gotta go down with them and smoke your enemy's ruin on the mountainside, trust that it's for the greater good, because they thought that losing Gandalf in that moment was the worst thing that could happen. And in that moment, from their perspective, and even at the end of the movie, in the first movie, in the first Lord of the Rings book, thinking that Gandalf is dead. And that seems like the worst thing in the world. But he needed to go away in order to come back more powerful, in order to come back Gandalf the White instead of Gandalf the Gray. And that's what trusting is about. He trusted his path, and he trusted that he was going to end up back with the fellowship, and that things was going to be what they was going to be. And they kept going on that journey, trusting that it was still worth doing. It's not like they lost a person and was like, oh no, it's time to call it quits. Time to just, Gandalf not even with us. We ain't got nobody who do magic. What we gonna do? We might as well just pack it up. No, they kept going. They kept going. And what happened? They got greater later. They got greater later. So trust in yourself, trust in the divine, trust in your ancestors, that you are exactly where you are supposed to be as long as you are living in your truth. But you can't live for nobody else, and you can't be more or give more than you can, because yeah. It just is what it is. It just is what it is. So we're going to go into the Moon Witch. Actually, I'm going to pull two more cards. I'm going to do one more shuffle and pull two more cards from here, because I'm really liking how that energy corresponded. And I haven't messed with this deck in a minute, and I missed it. Let's see. The Divine Fruit. Ooh. As I work to improve and free myself, I strengthen my foundations. My intellect is light, my heart is warmth, and my soul is strength. I am nurtured by the divine sun. The fruit I bear reflects my inner light. Wasn't I just talking about fiery sun energy? These is two cards. It's a whole bunch of color schemes in the cards of this deck. Like if we just hold it up, like at the bottom we got a purple card right there. So please don't think that all the cards in this deck have this color scheme. But what happens when you trust? When you trust and you follow your path, and the growth is the working to improve yourself and free yourself and free your mind, and the rest will follow. Free yourself. As you work to do those things, you will start to see the divine fruits of your labor when you stay true to you and your path, and you don't let the worldly things like people's opinions because of 3D perceptions. And like, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done. It's not fun being spiritual weirdo. Like, it's only starting to get fun for me now because I've started making it look cool. But in the days when I was in my chrysalis, in the days when I was depressed and not eating for a decade because I was slaying demons and dealing with ancestral curses, when I was in the midst of that, it wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. It was not sunshine and rainbows. But it's sunshine and rainbows now, because what did we talk about? It gets greater later. And I am entering into the season of my divine fruit because I have trusted in my path. I have trusted in my ancestors. I have stepped out on faith so many times in the past year. And even when stepping out on faith had me end up in situations that were uncomfortable, I am super proud of myself because this year really tried to break me. I went through some ish this year. But the number one thing that was the common thread was I did not allow any external things to make me act beneath myself. Ooh, that's a word. Let's say it again. I did not allow any external things to knock me off my center. That's what being centered is. That's what being grounded is. That's what being so rooted in your truth and in trust for the divine is. And I'm not saying it's easy. We all waver. We all get, times where negative energies, whether you want to think of them as coming from the outside, whether you want to think of them as, your own demons, your own challenges, however you would like to interpret the negative energy that you encounter, it's going to happen. It's going to strike. I spent yesterday crying like a lot and having a lot of soul introspection and really feeling all of the feels from this past year and really sitting with the progress that I have made. And a lot of it is not tangible. A lot of it is inner light. A lot of it is the fact that my intellect is light and my heart is warmth and my soul is strength. But those aren't things that you can necessarily see from the outside. I mean, if you can read auras and stuff, you might peep the glow. You might peep the sun-kissed melanin aspect of it. But most people can't see that. But it doesn't make it any less real. It doesn't make it any less real, and it doesn't make it any less valid. So we're going to go ahead and pull this last card from this deck. Open to the universe. I am discovering my worth and my abilities. I have confidence in my value and my potential. I reclaim my inner power. I accept and love myself completely. Thus, I am open to the divine light of the universe. That's a whole word, and that's that final heart chakra step, because when you trust and then you start to get your divine fruit, what that leads to is this oneness and this communion with the universe, with spirit, with creation, that allows you to just operate in the flow state, being completely present in the moment and really tapping in to the subtle energies and understanding that nothing about you is an accident. You have so much worth and so many abilities, and capitalism all and why a lot of people do not think they have value, because if whatever you're good at can't be monetized and turned into a product, and you're going to do a Shark Tank, like, oh my gosh, like everything is about capital, capital, capital. And it's like, if it can't be monetized, and like, what is it worth under capitalism? And it's worth nothing under capitalism, which is why so much of Earth is being destroyed, because it's only valuable under capitalism, in the sense of, oh, well, what can we get for this? Like, you think you own whatever land you land on, and the earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But it's not, and you are not just a dead thing that people can claim. You are a spark of the divine, and you have value, and you have so much potential, and you have so much inner power, and you are so worthy of love supremely from yourself. Most importantly from yourself. But it's very difficult to love yourself when you aren't building that trust, when you aren't maintaining those boundaries, when you are giving parts of yourself away for cheap to people who do not value you or value it. Last year, this time, I was just starting to be booed up in what I would have previously called a waste of time, but what I will now call a very interesting learning experience, because it taught me so many things about myself. And I was a little bit upset with my ancestors, I'm not gonna lie, because like, I don't really do too much without consulting them, the Most High, my higher self. And they told me, like, yeah, see what's up with that. And I did. And I saw what was up with it. And I heard, I saw things that I liked, and I also saw things that I didn't like. And it was uncomfortable. It was definitely uncomfortable. But it allowed me to see so many things that I would not have seen if I had not gone through it. That situation exposed false friends in my midst. It exposed bad habits that I had within myself, and also exposed the last of my save-a-hoism. And it allowed me to be like, oh, no, we're not doing that no more. But it also tested me in terms of, are you going to do what's easy and, stay in this connection, even though it is draining your life force? Because, you're getting helped out, financially. Like, it's, it wasn't all detriment. And it can be so easy in those situations to stay in the comfort zone. But what that does is it diminishes trust within yourself, because it basically tells yourself that you have a price tag. And as someone who comes from a people who were previously sold, I don't have no price tag, dog. It's not enough money in this whole universe. I was going to say on the planet, but they have found whole asteroids made of nothing but diamond and gold. And even if you brought all of those into orbit around the earth and offered them to me, it is not enough for my integrity. It is not enough for my soul. That shit is so priceless. You are so priceless. So stop selling yourself short. Stop accepting the bare minimum from people. And I understand that that's not easy to do, because when you are at a deficit, when you're starving, you'll kind of take what you can get, right? When you're starving, you like, if food can be a little bit discolored, a little off. Like, if you haven't eaten in a week, bro, you do not care. And a lot of us are so starved for love and genuine connection out here that when we get something that even remotely resembles it, we want to hold on. But at the end of the day, is it actually nourishing you? Is it actually nurturing you? Or is it just a placeholder? Is it just, crumbs? Is it just trickle down? Are you just getting the trickle down of the economics? Are you getting the crumbs? Like, you're worth the whole loaf. You're worth the whole bakery, boo-boo. Pick a pastry. You worth the whole bakery. That's a bar. That's a bar right there. If you hear that in a song later, yeah, that was off the top. Pick a pastry. You worth the whole bakery. Like, all the dough, all the sweetness, all of the sugar and the spice and the everything nice. You are worthy of all of it. But first, you have to give it to yourself. First, you have to give it to yourself. And the number one way to love yourself is to live in your truth. Live in your truth. Live by your principles. I understand that we care so much about the people that we love, and we just want them to be proud. And we just want to live lives that honor them and the things that they have instilled in us. But we also came here to be completely new and separate beings. And oftentimes we came here to innovate and teach our parents and previous generations things that they did not have access to because the energy was denser, because they were dealing with their own generational stuff, because of insert reason. But sometimes we come here to redefine and break molds, and that's hella uncomfortable. That can lead to you being ostracized. That can lead to you being the black sheep, and that's never fun. Everybody wants to belong. Everybody wants to be loved by their community, by their people. And so if it is a choice, if the choice seems to be between, okay, doing something that is true to me but unacceptable to my community and into the status quo, where do you fall within that? Where do you fall within that? Because makes me think of the United Health thing, and the guy, the Luigi Bull, and the CEO Bull, and the whole thing that just went down with that. There are a lot of people who feel like Bull was justified, and he felt like it was justified, and it was a very bold step. But, revolutions and things are often started with bold steps and doing things that are outside of the status quo, because slavery used to be status quo and legal. Did that ever make it moral or right? No. So that just proves that status quo and legal and normal are not necessarily the litmus tests that we should be going by, because humans, especially the ones who crave power and seek it and cultivate it, often create rules to insulate their power. So a lot of times the things that are status quo and moral are just about insulating the wealthy, are just about insulating the powers that be, are just about keeping the status quo in the machine functional and operational. It's not actually about truth or justice or right or wrong or balance or truth or harmony. If anything was about balance or truth or harmony, the society outside would not look like this. Y'all see what it's like outside. Y'all be outside. I be outside sometimes. Y'all be outside though, like every day. Y'all see what it's like. Does this look healthy? Does it look healthy? I don't think it looks healthy. I mean, from my perspective, it doesn't look healthy. So let's go ahead. Now we're going to do the Moon Witch Tarot next. So, Most High, ancestors, angels of our collective, guardian angels, and any archangels that particularly resonate and vibe with them. Like, I know for me, Gabriel just came through for me the other day. Raphael, Uriel, Mikael, you know what I'm saying? The elves, the elves know the barge, you know what I'm saying? They be coming through for a sister for some reason. Bottom of the deck is Isis. Cast spells, protect, heal. Now, when we hear the phrase cast spells, we have a very... Western society has done a really interesting job of morphing our perception of things, but every time you write a word, what do? You spell. A lot of times people curse people, like, the power of life and death is in the tongue. Like, people will be out here cursing people and themselves with the very things that they say. So when they say cast spells, protect, they heal, I'm interpreting that as speak life. Speak life over yourself. Speak life over your people. Speak protection. Speak words that are nurturing to yourself. It is so easy in the name of discipline, especially when we grew up with discipline that was accompanied with harsh words and physical violence and so forth. It can be very easy to think that when it comes to disciplining ourselves, that we have to be in this really like, oh, what the f is wrong with you? And get it together. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. You can be gentle with yourself. You can use positive reinforcement instead of negative reinforcement to shepherd yourself into growth and into your inner child. So when you speak into yourself, speak words that are healing. Speak words that build you up and do not take you down, because all that does is lower your frequency and make you more susceptible to weird ass outside energies. I don't know what was going on in the ethers yesterday, but I was like I don't know who I was picking up on or what was going on, because I often be encountering energies that are not my own. And it's only once I do some cleansing work and get that off, I'm like, oh, that wasn't my energy at all. It's gift and curse of being the Oracle of Illadelphi and being so tapped into the universal energies and the energies of my environment. It's a little bit hard having this much water, but built for it. I got all 3 water signs in my chart. Like, it's real feely over here. I'll be real tapped in with the ethers. So I say all that to say I was having suicidal thoughts yesterday. And not that I ever want to not be here, but just I understand that this reality is hard. And it was only by being gentle with myself and only by not beating myself up for even having those thoughts. Because imagine what loop that would have created if, when those thoughts came up, if I would have been like, see, what's wrong with me? What the fuck? I might as well not, because why am I even thinking? Like, I could have let that shit spiral. You could have let, it's like you could have let it spiral, but no. I breathe through the discomfort. And I had patience with those feelings and understand that just because I was feeling that way in the moment did not make that a permanent emotion. And it did not make it something that I needed to act on. And it did not make it invalid. A lot of times we are at war within ourselves, because when parts of ourselves cry out in anguish, we tell them to shut up, because we got to go to work and you don't get to be upset today because it's things that's going on. And like, that's not really being kind to ourselves. That's not really being loving to ourselves. Imagine if somebody outside of you treated you that way, if you came to them with your upset and they dismissed you. And a lot of times we do these things to ourselves because that is a learned behavior. It's what we've seen. It's what we've experienced. It's what we've been taught. But we, as I said earlier, are allowed to come in and bring in new dynamics. We are allowed to break those chains. We are allowed to cast spells in our words of protection and healing and speak life into ourselves. Whether you got to get you some affirmations, because oftentimes we are taught to seek outside validation. We're taught that what you think of yourself is okay, but you could be delusional. You might be misperceiving yourself. Don't trust what you think, or trust what the outside world thinks of you. But then they program the outside world with these artificial ass values, which then you're then held up against, once again, capitalism, be judging fish by their ability to climb trees, and then wondering why everybody feels inadequate. It's by design, bro. It's not an accident. It's so they can sell you shit. Because if they don't make you think that you not cute enough, or if they don't make you think that you not whatever enough, then why do you need whatever insert excess thing that isn't actually necessary? And I'm not saying, like, I have a Taurus moon. I love nice things. I'm not saying that you can't have nice things. I'm saying that it is about balance and knowing that those nice things do not define you. They do not make you who you are, and you would still be the same person of the same value with or without them. With or without them. Van Gogh has a quote, and it's super painful and ironic that it's a quote that he has, because it's almost like he knew he was being taken for granted, because it's like, wheat is wheat, because every plant goes through different stages, and there's stages when it's before it can be useful to anybody else, but it still is what it is in those times. And reality will make you feel like, oh, well, if you aren't useful to the machine, then you're worthless. And it's like, no. Your value is so much greater than can be estimated by any 3D metrics. Any 3D metrics. Especially not the ones of like, well, how much do you make? What kind of car do you drive? What do you do for a living? Tell me so I can judge you. Tell me so I know what box to put you in and how to treat you. And that shit is hella weird, because you shouldn't treat people different based on what they have. You should treat the CEO the same way you treat the janitor, because nobody wants to come in to shitty toilets. So you need the janitor, honestly, much more than you need the CEO, because anybody can do with this. Everybody would take the CEO's job. Not everybody going to take the janitor's job. So like, perspective is so important, and it's so perspective is so important, and it's so amazing, because it allows you to see the truth and the real intrinsic value of things. The real intrinsic value of things. So as we are coming into this new year, 2025 is a 9-year, which is all about completion. It is all about, think of it as a final exam. Think of it as, because numerologically, each year has a cycle, and ones start off the beginning of the energy and 9s close it out. So this is a culmination of the energies of the past 9 years. So look back. I would encourage everybody to look back, not only on what you've gone through in this past calendar year, but also in the past 9 years, and see if you can see any commonalities and common threads. And I know that might not be the most fun thing, because not all of those memories are going to be pleasant, but breathe through the discomfort. And any place where you go and you recollect and you feel pain, understand that that's an indication of a point that needs healing. And so our pain, even our discomfort, even is useful and is beautiful, because it tells us where we need attention and where we need healing and where we may need a little balm or a little extra TLC. So love up on yourself in those areas and ways. I personally listen to my affirmations at night, program your subconscious, because that's a real thing, it's a real thing. So program your subconscious with some positivity, with some divine light, with some healing words. Sun, find a balance. Wasn't we just talking about the sun? One of these cards over here talks about the divine sun. Yep, I am nurtured by the divine sun. And then in a completely different deck, sun, find a balance. And I love that the pyramids are in the background, because pyramids represent one of the most balanced structures on the planet. It's why they ain't been knocked down. It's why, no storms have toppled them, because when you got that wide base, that wide center of gravity, when you are firmly planted, it allows you to have a sturdy foundation, and that foundation as you can see, will not be rocked for hundreds of thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands of years. Find a balance. You see, we got the sun, but then we also have the moon illustrated in this card, because it is about, all of this life is about balance. It is about a balance of the love you give out and the love that you receive. And that means that you receive from other people and also that you receive from yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I know that phrase has been said to death. I know. But it's true. It's very true. So as we go into this new year, one of the main things that we want to do is cultivate a balance between our masculine and our feminine energies, our give and our take, or our give and our receive. Because I don't like to use the word take in that instance, because take implies like a grabby, forceful, but receive implies that it's willingly given. And I've never been a taker. I'm not open to the energy of taking, but I am open to the energy of receiving, because I only want things that are for me. So I'm open to receiving, but I'm not open to taking, because taking often comes along with a little bit of a covetous energy. It's like, oh yeah, like I sees that, I likes it, I wants it. And it's like, that's not a good space to be in. That's not a balanced space to be in. It's like, hey, if you are willing to give, I am willing to receive. And if that's not the case, then boundaries are respected, because that's also a thing. As much as you want to make sure that your boundaries are being respected, you want to make sure that you're respecting other people's boundaries. You want to make sure that you're respecting other people's boundaries. And you want to make sure that you are always coming in communication from a space of seeking to understand where people are coming from, understand the lived experience that led them to be where they are, and have space and compassion for that. But also understand that other people being triggered is not necessarily an indication that you did anything wrong. A lot of times in connections, Bob Marley has a classic line that says, everybody you interact with is going to hurt you. It's just about who's worth it, because no human interaction has ever existed without friction. However, it's just a matter of making sure that it's discomfort that you can breathe through, and not just pain, not just active pain and hurt, not just malicious intent, because there's a difference between mistakes and malicious intent, and often that line is repetition, is the energy behind it, and everybody has to find those lines within themselves. And somebody else's line might be entirely different from your line, and that doesn't make either person a bad person. It just means that this situation is not necessarily in alignment. And it doesn't even have to be a permanent thing. It could be a momentary thing. It could be at this point in time in reality. Because we all said time isn't real anyway. So we're going to get into the moonology, manifestations cards. And we're going to say specifically for the new year, what would you have us remember and honor? If we had to write it on a calendar, at the top of every month, what principle should we focus on to achieve our highest and greatest good in this year? Let's see. Go deeper. This is a green card. Energy. So when it says new moon, go deeper. Get to really, and not the you that, programmed by reality, or not the values and sorry about what the fuck. sorry about that. Somebody was leaving me a message and it threw off everything. But I just breathed through the discomfort. And I say all that to say, go deeper within yourself. Not the you that was programmed by reality, not the you that in the behaviors, in the thought processes, and the values that were often either instilled or beat into you by your parents. And not all of those are good. That's why I'm saying to just examine these things. I'm not saying to just go and just completely discard everything. No, a lot of the things that we were taught are useful, but it's about being able to chew the meat and spit the bones, because there was a lot of trauma in there, and there was a lot of fear-based thinking in how previous generations operated and how they felt safe to operate. And so a lot of times people may have been telling us things that they did not think were detrimental, but were detrimental to our spirit, because all we needed to be told in those instances was, I got your back, or I believe in you. You can totally do that. You didn't necessarily need all of the real world reasons why it might not work out or why it might not be viable, or all of those things. And like a lot of times people do those things because they think they're being pragmatic and they think they're being helpful, and they think they are. And no, they are, but based on their own values. But you can't live nobody else's life. If you do, you will often end up with resentment and regret, and be looking back and be mad that you listened to this person, but nobody made you listen to that person. You know, for better or for worse, chose to give up your power in those instances. But that's why we are going deeper within ourselves, so we can find the source of that power and we can reclaim it. We can cleanse it from all the debris that has accumulated on it, and we can start to fuel it properly with real things, with divine principles, with divine truth, and with universal things that are not dependent upon the pendulum swing of the duality of this two-party system. There's a Republican here, it's a Democrat here, it's a man's world, it's a wage of the feminine. Like, it's about balance. It's about balance between all of those things. And if anything is going to be taught during Pluto and Aquarius, is going to be balance between community and collective and self. It's all about that balance, fam. Because at the end of the day, this is really interesting. So this card says, be humble. And I was immediately going to dismiss it just because I don't like the roots of that word. But then I looked at it and I was like, wait, it's associated with Leo. And Leo rules the ego. So when it's telling us to be humble, it's saying, don't let your ego be in control. Once again, balance. It is about good to go through death so you understand that you are not your ego, but you also understand that you need your ego to exist in this world. Once again, balance. So do not allow the divine fruit and the good things and the growth to get you in your ego. Always make sure that you are coming from a heart, soul-centered place. And yes, take your ego into account, but it should be a counsel decision within you. It shouldn't be a hierarchy. It should be a round table discussion within yourself when you go to things, and all of the parts of you should come together. Well, what does my heart think? What does my mind think? What does my ego think? What does my soul think? And then find balance between all of those. And usually that's the truth. Because usually your heart is feeling a little bit too deep, and usually your brain is being a little bit too cerebral, and usually your ego is being a little bit too worldly, and usually your soul is being a little bit too ethereal. So it is about balancing your cardinal directions, your north, south, your east, your west, to become centered, to become that balanced pyramid that can stand the test of time, to become that sun that is fueled and can burn and shine light and give life and nurture things billions of miles away, because you never know how your actions are going to affect things. You never know how what you do, what the fruits of that are going to be when you plant that seed. You never know. And that's the beautiful thing about it. And I am learning to be comfortable with the unknown. I'm learning to be comfortable with the unknown and with letting life surprise me. And a little bit of that is my trauma, because a lot of my formative years, most of the surprises were not fun surprises. There were some fun surprises. There were. But the most impactful surprises were normally negative. Like the day I woke up and I went to school and my dad was alive, and I came home and he wasn't. So like, yeah, what a difference a day makes. 24 little hours. And so it can be easy when we have been through trauma, when we have been through negative experiences, when we have been encountering similar patterns and similar people and similar things, to think that it's always going to be like that, or it's always going to keep being the same. And that is where trust comes in, because there are billions of people on this planet, and the time that is to come, we have not yet experienced. We have no idea what it holds. They've been out here talking about aliens. Aliens can land tomorrow. Do you think that like people would really be concerned about work and bills and things if so understand that your world can change in a minute, but you have to trust that sometimes that change can be positive. It can really be positive. And even if you can't see how it's positive, it can still be positive later on. Once again, I go back to my Lord of the Rings analogy, because I like sci-fi, I like fantasy. When I intake media, I don't want to see things that I could see if I read the news. I want to read some fantastical shit. You know what I'm saying? So because whimsy, because fun, because childhood, because all of the things. But as I said, brings me back to my analogy. When they saw Gandalf go down, they thought that was like the worst thing that could have happened for them. But then he came back even more powerful. Gandalf the Grey wouldn't have been able to knock Sauron out of that king bull. They would have never been able to progress if it hadn't been for that struggle that he went through, for that separation, for them having to separate on their journeys and then come back together stronger and more fortified by the things that they had been through when they were apart. And sometimes connections are like that. Sometimes connections can seem like, oh, it's the end, oh, it's over, oh, catastrophe. But sometimes we have to, it's like a DNA spiral. The DNA spiral isn't always overlapping. It's not a line on a line. It's not like that. It is a spiral. And sometimes you have to separate in order to come back together in a more succinct and harmonious way, because sometimes you have to go and learn lessons and hone parts of yourself that you didn't even know needed honing. And that goes for connections between people. It goes with connections with hobbies, with jobs, with opportunities. Sometimes, in terms of the whole rejection is protection, sometimes we can be being kept back from opportunities so that we don't fumble it prematurely. Like sometimes it's like the universe is not going to give you something before you are ready for it. Why? So you can mess it up and then be mad and then be open to like, no, like, so the universe will wait, and it will make you cultivate patience, and it will make you cultivate all of the parts of yourself that are not cute and that you don't even really want to acknowledge or look at. Like my people pleasing, or my, unhealthy attachment issues that I have healed. But none of those things would be possible if I hadn't taken the time to examine them. Like, why do I keep ending up in these type of relationships? Why do I keep attracting these type of people? Why do I keep attracting these type of jobs and opportunities and friends? And like, what frequency am I putting out that is polarizing these things to me? And this is the thing, not saying that it's a 1-to-1 ratio of like everything you do, you bring on yourself. Because like I said, some things are necessary for growth. Some things are actually people just being malicious, but even that, the creator turns to good, because it only does things like show you how truly strong you are and allow you to connect really, really deeply with yourself and truly understand that it's about balance. One more card. Shine. That's 3 sun references, and then we got the sun coming in here. So we're gonna take that as a divine confirmation and correspondence. We're gonna take that. No, we're going to receive that. We're going to receive that. And shout out to the sunflowers even on the cards. And like, sunflowers are really, really dope and cute because they rotate and follow the sun. And also, all the zodiac signs that have come out, we got a Scorpio card, so that's water. And then we got 2 cards of Leo, so it's all fixed energy coming out. But that also goes back to boundaries, because you need to be fixed within your boundaries. You need to be fixed within your energy of being humble, but then you also need to be fixed within your energy of shine. And I know that seems contradictory. I know it seems contradictory, but it's not. It's the same way that 2 things can be true at once. You can be humble and be shining. That's why they follow me, huh? They know I know the way. Listen, you can be humble and shine. It's entirely possible. But it just has to make sure that your shine isn't coming from a false place of ego, but your shine is actually coming from your soul. It's actually you letting, like that like that classic song, like, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. We need to do an updated version of that. Who wants to do this little light of mine remix? No, but we're not gonna call it a little light no more, because it's not a little light. Like, it's a big light. I got instead of big ego, we're on big aura time. Like, it is about not letting your ego run the show, but letting your soul illuminate all of this ish. By being authentic, by being you, by being your most weird, authentic self. Like me including random song lyrics and Lord of the Rings references. I don't know what overlap of people this is for, what genre of folks, but shout out to Try, because if you listen to some of the music that I listen to, but then you also like Lord of the Rings and get my obscure references and all the things, and shout out to you, because you gang and we on a frequency. And shout out to everybody who is on this frequency, who is aiming towards growth and ascension and being better today than they were yesterday, because that's not everybody's twist. Everybody doesn't seek to do that. That's not everybody's goal, or even past goal. It's not everybody's mission in this life. So shout out to all of us who came down here to do the work. You know what I'm saying? So grateful for us and for the ways that we show up in community for each other. I'm grateful for everybody who tapped in on this live and gave a little light in the comment section. I'm grateful for everybody who will receive this and be touched by it. I'm grateful for the fact that I am even in this energy space to be able to deliver this message, because if I hadn't gone through what I went through yesterday, I wouldn't be. Because as uncomfortable as that was, it was super duper necessary for me to go through those things, but then also take stock and realize that the things that I was doing last year this time are things that I would never do this year this time, and that's beautiful. So whereas I could beat myself up for the previous decisions I made and been like, Dad, you should have never done that, and that's some dickhead shit, and like that, I could also just be like, whoa, girl, so glad we learned those lessons, and thank you to that portion of me, because that portion of me was doing her best. She was doing her best with what she had and with the level of understanding and healing that she had at the time. And now that we know better, if you knew better, you knew better. Now that we know better, we gonna go better. We gonna grow better. Bars today. Today is bars. A little bit of bars today. Yeah, now that we know better, we're going to go better and grow better. So be gentle with yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust that little voice. Trust your first mind. Trust that that's even a real thing. Trust that that's even a real thing, because like, rational Western society will tell you that's not a real thing. But then if you start getting into the research of physics and some of the physics and metaphysics, it's the reason that they, some overlap there. And it's more overlap the more technology they get and the more they destroy the earth to build these things to just realize truths that indigenous people have been telling them for centuries, but they didn't believe because they couldn't go into a laboratory and test. Imagine what reality would be if they had just trusted those truths. But, we needed to go through this as a society because we needed to see the detriments of this path so that we can know why we should not walk it. We had to see the evils of exploiting the earth in this way and the evils of treating each other as commodities and so many things to understand of like, oh, no, this isn't balanced. And it's about finding a happy medium. It's about that balance of soft and hard with your boundaries, because you don't gotta blow up at somebody or get all defensive just because you feel like a boundary is being, tested, or even if the boundary has been being violated. It does not have to be an explosive thing. It can honestly just be like, hey, I didn't really appreciate that. Because hot anger is usually a sign of pain, and it's usually a sign of like there's something within yourself that needs to be healed in that moment. Like, what are the ways that this reminds you of previous circumstances? And sit with that sometimes. Sit with that. I realize a lot of times that, even healed people get triggered sometimes. Healing is not a linear thing. And that's also something that I've had to learn this year and have grace with. Because like I said, I spent the better part of a decade being depressed. And I Mike Tyson that ish. Like I'm Muhammad Ali. I floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee my way up out of that depression. But there are still days where it's difficult. And I'm not going to say it's a constant struggle, but what I am saying is maintaining balance and equilibrium within yourself is the only work that there is. And whether you maintain that balance by going to church, whether you maintain that balance by doing yoga, whether you maintain that balance by doing a little smoking and drinking, or whether you take Western pharmaceuticals, or whether you use ashwagandha, or like whatever healing modalities work for you, understand that it is about balance and that anything in excess can be a poison. Anything in excess can be a poison. And as much as we would like for everything to be sunshine and daisies all the time, in this reality, all sunshine makes a desert. So you need that balance of sun and rain. You need that balance of inhale and exhale. You need that balance in order to really step into your purpose, because otherwise you will constantly be vacillating between outside stimuli. You will constantly be having knee-jerk reactions, like when, you know, that, like the thing where they hit you on the knee with the hammer and your leg goes. You don't want to be reactionary like that. You don't want to be that easily programmable. You don't want to be the action figure when you pull the string and they say their catchphrase, or you push the button and they do the karate chop. Like, you should not be that easy to control. So you have to get balance within yourself so that nothing external to you is going to throw off your center, is going to make you act outside of yourself, is going to make you act beneath yourself, it's going to make you dishonor the creator or your ancestors or the generations that are coming the generations that came before you, or the generations that are coming after you. My ancestral story is going to be great, bro. It's going to be legends about me. They're going to be like, gather around and let us tell of the Lord. And you want to live your life in a way so that when you are gone, what will people say about you? And it doesn't have to be tangible things that you did in the 3D, because one of the most powerful homegoing ceremonies I have ever been to was not for a CEO, was not for somebody with a super high powered career. It was for a woman who lived in a little house in an area called the Bottom in Philly, but was a light to everybody she ever touched. Was a light to everybody she ever touched. Was a grandmother to grandchildren that did not come from her lineage. And that's one of the most powerful, the way that she was spoken about. I can only hope to make a quarter of that impact. And that's the type of legacies we should be concerned about. How many people did you touch? How many people did you heal? How many people did you love authentically? But this has been our time together today. I'm so grateful to everyone who has tuned in. I'm grateful for all of your kind words and namaste. You know what I'm saying? I was like, there's a word for what I'm seeking, and the word is namaste. So on that note, we out of here. Tune in soon, because we're going to be doing more things. All right. Yeah. Love you guys. Peace, peace. This is your friendly neighborhood, Imah X, aka the Oracle of Illadelphi. Enjoy your Gregorian